What's up, manifestation queens? This is your manifesty bestie. And you know what? The universe loves when we help each other out. So you've got to help a gal out. If you like my vibe, then please subscribe, rate, and review. But I'm not going to ask you to do this for nothing. No, I'm not. When you subscribe, you are going to do it manifestation style. You're going to subscribe and say, I am subscribing to my best life. And when you hit the 5 stars, say to yourself, 5-star life for me, because no manifestation queen wants a 4-star life. So thank you, queens. What's up? This is All Up in Your Biz, and I am here with...
My name is Ellen Kavanagh Jones.
I've just put her totally on the spot. Ellen, what's up? How are you?
I'm great.
Thank
you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming. You have literally just launched a new brand.
A new business, yeah.
A new business. So Ellen is a beauty entrepreneur. That's how I would describe it. I don't know if that's how you would describe yourself.
I think now, yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's evolved over the years. So I'm a qualified beauty therapist from when I was in my mid-20s, and that was kind of my second, I suppose, change of career, and that's the one that I've kind of stuck into. So, so it's kind of grown. So I think now I'd be kind of more comfortable with saying I'm in a beauty entrepreneur space.
Yeah, no, you totally are. You've got Waxperts.
Yeah, so that would be the first kind of my first business. And I think when I went back to do beauty in college, I was a little bit older, not really, but compared to the other, students that were there who had kind of come maybe from after leaving cert, whereas I had worked and been in retail and in, although that's aging me now, we would say retail. Now you'd say I worked in fashion, it'd be more glamorous. Yeah. But no, back then I worked, in fashion, in retail, and then moved to go in and study beauty. But I was like 24 at the time, so I was the older student, mature student.
And I still think 24 is such a baby.
I was a baby, but going back, and there was others in the course who were like 16, 17, going to their debs, and it was wild to feel that you were an older student.
Yeah, sure. I remember when I was in college in Galway, I was studying law, and anytime one of the mature students, they called them.
Yeah.
But they were probably like
I was
30,
not mature.
35.
Yeah, I know. But going back then, I think because it was very much a choice, I said, I'm going to do this. It wasn't, I'll just do it and see what happened. It was more thought through maybe than if you were doing it after you're leaving and kind of see where it took you. And I'll never forget my tutor at the time, Sonia, who she helped me out massively with this new business as well. I called back on her. She's an amazing lady. But when I went back in, she said, you are coming in, you've had a career, you're currently working. I was trying to do it all. And she said, so don't, you're here to excel. You're here to get the best marks, so she didn't let me slack. Like she didn't, if I got like an A-, that wasn't acceptable to her. She was like, you're here to do this. So what are you doing?
Yeah. I
she's like, you're able for it. You want to be here. You're paying for it. It was, it was really expensive to do Cedesco, the qualification that is kind of the highest in our industry. So she really kind of helped spur me on to be like, you're coming back, get focused, really excel at what you're doing. And then when I was in college doing all of that, because I had worked in retail and I had a bit of work life knowledge and experience, I thought, okay, when I come back now in doing this beauty, it's all new. I'd never thought of ever doing beauty. It never was on my childhood kind of list of things I was interested in. So I said, you can't be jack of all trades. So I said, I'll go into college, but whatever I am good at, that's what I'm doing. So I didn't have any, I love makeup or I love it. I was like, whatever. I don't care what it is. It's the one I'm best at. I'm just doing that. So it didn't matter to me if it was massage or facials or nails. I was just going to knuckle down and really put everything into that once I qualified. And then it happened to be waxing. And I don't even know had I had a wax myself at that stage. But it was just a skill. I think it was in the actual doing of it that I was able to maybe get the coordination of it right, in a sense that, you know, when I was doing, you have to do everything on each other in college, you know. So when I was waxing another pal or student, they were like, oh, it doesn't hurt when you do it. And I was like, okay, I'm doing something right here. So I suppose that really spurred me on. So I thought, right, I'll just do this waxing thing.
I got my bikini waxed once, and it was so painful.
See, everybody has the bad stories.
Yeah,
so I was like, no, it doesn't have to be like this.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I was like, it was so painful that I've never gotten one again.
I know. And this is what people don't believe, I have no pain threshold when it comes to waxing. Like it's a joked about in our office, you know, because I'd be like, oh, will somebody just do my legs really quickly or whatever, and you know, we'd be waxing each other, and they're like, this is so funny, I'd be jumping around, you know, and I'd be getting waxed.
It's just
so I think I'm more conscious of, okay, I know what it's like to feel it be uncomfortable, you know, so I don't want anyone to feel it like that. So I was really focused on the client experience. You know, I wasn't just like, oh, I'll get somebody in and out, you know, really quickly. That was never my thought process. I was like, just get this to be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. So anyway, from then it really changed my life, I guess, because I did my beauty. Waxing was it. And it just grew from there, really.
But how did you start then with like, okay, this is my own brand, this is what I'm doing? Did you like put your own money into it to start it up, and it just grew and grew and grew? Like, how did it happen?
I happened to be, at the time, it was like 2007 maybe, and I was part of like a peer group for estheticians, because it was within the States. And a lot of my pals that I'd made there, they were kind of bringing in their own lines for doing facials. So obviously we didn't really have that here, because you went to a salon that did Image or Gino or Clarence or whatever. But they were like, oh no, we go to this particular factory and, you know, they have this range of products. Now we'd know it as like white labeling or private labeling. Mm-hmm. But they were picking out this facial range and then putting their, you know, name on it, like Mary Salon. And they were using, you know, really great quality products, but they were doing something that kind of gave another level to their service or their salon. And I just thought that was really interesting. And then when I had made the decision and I had the opportunity to work for myself and open my own salon, then I could decide what product range I was using. And I tried every single wax there was at the time. I had it like imported in from everywhere in the world. Every single wax brand there was, I tried it, and I just felt some of them I liked this, but I didn't like that. You know, that usual innovator story. Yeah. And, you know, your biggest advantage when you're at that stage in any kind of innovation or entrepreneur part is your naivety, because you just think, oh, I'll just do it myself, and you don't really think all the way how. You know, you just think the next step, the next step, the next step. So I just chipped away at that, because I thought, well, if there's other wax brands, then why can't I do that? Yeah, it never occurs that, well, there's some big giant brand in Australia or a global leader in wherever, France. You just think, well, they did it once, so I'll just do that too. And I knew how I wanted to perform as a waxer. And I knew that that was probably the greatest, you know, part that I could bring to it, because you buy from other companies and you go, that's some guy, CEO of a company, that he's not waxing. He doesn't know why it should be this way and not that way, or how it should melt, or why this is much better to use every day in your salon. And then I knew from my client's perspective and me as a client that it had to be give, you know, as pain-free a treatment as possible. And what would that look like? What texture would the wax need to be? What temperature would it need to be? So I knew going in, I was like, no, I'm just going to do it myself and bring all the bits that I know to make something that I feel would be the best wax for a waxer and a client. And that's how I kind of went about it. So you have to go and find, I mean, wax is used in so many things, but it's refined at various stages. So you have, you know, it's sold off for candles, it's sold off for depilatory, it's sold off for dental, it's sold off for sealants. You know, there's loads of, you know, waxes in body creams, facial creams. Like it's refined at various stages. So it's to try and, you know, get it when it's for the depilatory wax, and then, you know, create what you need from it.
And the marketing and all of that would have been different back then to probably to what you would do now, in the sense of like, now we've got TikTok and we've Instagram and we've got influencers. Yeah. What was the point, or what did you do to like get it out there? Was it all word of mouth?
Word of mouth. I suppose with waxing, it still is probably your biggest kind of reach, because like that, when we mentioned waxing, somebody was straight away like, your experience, I had a terrible experience, it was awful. So when somebody goes, oh, I have a great girl I go to, everybody will listen. All the gals, all the, you know, the pals will go, oh, where do you go? And where, you know, where is she? And so that is so powerful. And that exists today. I mean, we have all the social media platforms, but it's just an amplified word of mouth. So when I opened Waxperts in Dún Laoghaire, it was 2008. So it would be like Facebook. And obviously even now, right now today, for us as a brand and for all the salons that use us, you know, we have to be very creative in how we can promote that, you know, we're a great wax, or, you know, you have a salon in Sligo and you use Waxperts, and here's why it's great and why you should come to our salon, because we can't show before and after, really. Well, depending, you can on various areas, but, you know, you have to be creative in how you can market that. So I think, you know, your word of mouth is always, you know, that testimonial part, you know, that building a community. So you get one client in, and next day you have her work colleagues, then you have her friends from home, then you might have her sister, then you have her sister's friends. So you really get a good idea of that person and their life and this circle that builds around, you know, and it really does span out. So in a sense of a career base, it's really fulfilling. And, you know, if you like people and hearing people's stories, it's hugely fulfilling, because it's a natural, you know, it just grows naturally in that way.
Yeah, and I was saying there, I had a really bad waxing experience, but that was for the bikini line. I still had used wax when I go to get my eyebrows done. They could use a little bit of wax. I could get my legs waxed, and it's fine. But it was so you forget that there's so many, and probably more men now are using it as well. And
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we always had, you know, we had our salon ourselves. Like, I always had a lot of male clients, very loyal clientele, and it was a very specialised, you know, we would have done intimate male waxing as well. So like full body, basically, on any gender. Because when I set up Waxperts, we were waxing only. And that was very rare in the sense that we remained that. So when I opened, there may have been a couple of other waxing only salons. That quickly changed for those salons. They evolved. They added in tan, they added in nails, they added in different treatments. But I knew I was never going to be a full service salon. Mm-hmm. And that went back to my days in college going, just do, and probably my mum, God rest her, would say, just do what you're good at. Just find what you're good at and do that. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Just be the best at that bit. Doesn't matter what it is. Just be the best at that. And I never saw that as a pressure, like, oh God, I have to be the best. It was just going, yeah, you're right. Why would I faff about doing other bits? So I always knew that Waxperts, even though we could have brought in other treatments or we could have diversified, we were never going to do that. We wanted to just stake our claim as we are the best at waxing. That is what we live and breathe, what we're passionate about, what we will, you know, wax lyrical about. And you know, that was what we did. And I think that really stood to the brand when we decided then to expand, because at that stage it was like, what do I do? Do I open loads more salons around the country, or how would that work? Or what we did then was, you know, expand the brand to then supply other salons with Waxperts, with the different waxes we had and the pre and post products. So that was different. But I think it was because our salon was so niche that we had customers when we launched as a professional brand, a supplier, that we had customers that were, you know, we were in Dún Laoghaire, we had customers in Blackrock, in Dún Laoghaire, in Stepaside, like locally, that still wanted to also be Waxperts, also have a bit of what made us special. because I thought, well, that worked for them. We could have a bit of that. So it wasn't, I suppose, a competition, or no one felt threatened that we were now supplying into the trade. It was like, okay, well, they really stuck into what they were doing. And if they did it so well and their salon so busy, maybe we could have a bit of that in our salon where we do everything.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense. Like, actually, a lot of people that have been on the podcast, Kylie Donahue from Femme Fuel, she's like, I'm just focusing on women.
Yeah.
And people say to her, but why don't you like make men protein? She's like, no, focus on one thing. And actually makes a lot of sense, because you're doubling down on like what you're really good at, and then you become known. You become known
for sure
as the waxing queen.
It's so funny because only I think it was last week, probably when it was talking about the new business, which I'm sure we'll come to, but somebody asked me, they're like, oh, you're going to change like your social media handle, because I'm Waxperts Ellen, and I was like, I don't think I'd ever be able to change that. Like, since I started in 2008, I remember going out and, you know, I'd meet friends in in the pub or something, and people were like, oh, hey, Waxperts, or hey, Waxy. And, you know, so I don't think I'd ever be able to lose that. It's just part of, you know, I always say Waxperts my first baby, and it really feels like that. I'd fight to the death for it, you know, because it just feels so strongly part of me, you know, so strongly aligned. So I don't think I could drop that part of it.
Sure,
you become very embedded in it as part of something. And I think that helped for sure, you know, more than hindered. I think that helped that people could see I was so passionate about waxing and what, you know, we were doing in our salon, and what I wanted other salons to be able to adopt from what we were doing, you know, correct like protocols, like to go in, you know, and really trying to inspire people to change maybe how they were waxing, or to change how they thought of their hygiene maybe, because we were still are very passionate that people don't double dip, you know, use the stick, put on the wax and re-dip that stick and use it again. It's a spatula, but just so that people get an idea in their head, you know, that it's one scoop of your wax, apply your wax, and then that spatula is disposed of. You know, that's something that no salon was doing when I opened Waxperts. Nobody. But in America, it was being done as law, as requirement. And I knew that from my small peer group that I had become pals with, who weren't really waxing, because it's different there. The qualifications are quite different. But some were, very few. But I knew that was a big deal. So I thought, well, if that's, you know, best in class there, we should have that. And it made sense to me. I was like, of course. Why would you ever double dip and have all this potential bacteria or contamination? It made sense. But I was so dogged, even now to this day. I would just be really unwaverable about it.
Which is really good, because the reality is a lot of people just, you know, will just be like, well, it's faster, it's more efficient to double dip, but it's not.
Because your client's more important, and your own sense of what your salon is and your standard for it is better than that.
Exactly.
You know, and one of our first reviews ever, it was just me at the time, but the bigger we as Waxperts, it was for Butte.ie, which was like the original kind of beauty blog, and like Butte was like everything. It was just like, you know, the mecca of, you know, opinion based and reviews, and, you know, a lot of the OG bloggers kind of had started there as commenters and stuff. And I was at home one morning, and wasn't even due. I didn't have a client. I didn't have to go into the salon yet. And I logged on, and it was a review of Waxperts. And I remember ringing my best friend. I was like, oh my God, I'm on Butte.ie. I have to go. And I like ran in, because I knew the phone would be calling and the email. And one of the lines in it that I'll never forget, it was Linda that had written it. But she said, you know, the treatment room was so clean I could eat my dinner off the floor. And I was just like, yes, so good. No sticky feet, you know, when you're getting changed. And those are things that you really try to pass on, so that other people, when they come to us for training, that we're like, now, okay, we'll train you in obviously our technique, but there's way more to it, you know, how to drape your client and how to make sure your floors aren't sticky because somebody's, you know, going from here to there to get changed, and those tiny things. Yeah, so those at the starting stages, you know, spray you on to like, But the highs are high
I always say this, the highs are high and the lows are low. Was there any
Yeah.
point where you're just like, I don't know, being an entrepreneur? I always ask this question to every entrepreneur. It's like, what are your down days looking like?
Yeah, I think they really are. And it really is that cliche for a reason of the roller coaster. And I've only seen it recently in the last few months because I'm doing your skin stuff with my husband. Even though he's always worked for himself, had his own creative agency, I think this feels different for him because we're doing it together and it's product based and it's different. But that analogy of the roller coaster, you really feel that the ticking of the cart going up, tick, 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 and you're getting excited, but you're also a little bit scared because you know you're going up so high, but it's the real excitement. And that, you know, it's when you're anxious at home or you have butterflies and you have that feeling. But the drop when something doesn't go right, it's, you know, it's not for the faint-hearted. You know, doing that, it's not for everybody. You know, that's, I think, the big difference between, you know, being interested in business or being a business owner or being an entrepreneur. I think they're very, very different. So I think that those failure moments, you know, and there's been loads, like some bigger than others and some that you really do question, is this it? Do I have another fight in me? Do I have another day to get up and do it? You know, so that has come, but you really have to dig deep. And, you know, ultimately for me, I was like, yeah, because, you know, it's my baby, or I started it, or I know you have a vision or you have a belief in it that you just need to keep going. But I think myself, I'm very resilient, and I've learned that over the last few years, you know, in a massive way. And I think that that's maybe, you know, everyone says, what, you know, if you had a superpower, what is it? And I definitely think resilience is something I might have underestimated in myself. And then when you go through a series of kind of knocks, you go, okay, you come out the other end, and other people, your friends, might be going, God, I don't know how you got through that. You know, so it's only recognisable in others mirroring it back to you. You go, yeah, God, yeah, that was really heavy, or that was really terrible. So I think resilience is a huge part of the ability to keep going through it.
Yeah, I found that as well with setting up my own brand, Pause Penny. I'm like, every now and again, I'm like, oh, holy mother of God, what am I doing? I'm a lawyer. I get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And the biggest lesson that I learned as being an entrepreneur is that the lows can be so low.
Yeah.
But then you take it back to like, why am I doing this? You know, and if you feel like you believe in it and there's a purpose in it, and then all of a sudden you'll just get something.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm like, I just ask for signs. I'm like, just give me a sign that like this is going to work, you know, and then something will come up and it will change my attitude again, you know.
Totally. And I think as well, depending on your business or what that entails, if it's product based or service based or that, or the size of it, you know, that moment of, is it ending or is it continuing? You know, you're looking at not just your why of a, like what I would say the selfish thing, going, oh, it's my baby, I started it. That's a very selfish why.
Yeah.
But a bigger why is like, well, first of all, my amazing team that believed in my idea, my vision, and have run with that. And now that's part of like their career.
Yeah.
Like this is their career. It's not like a nothing thing. Like this is important to them. Now they have families. You know, one of the team's been with me 11 years, you know, has a baby. Like it's a bigger why. And then the other bit that I've really like thought of a lot in the last few years are the other me's, the other beauty therapists that opened salons or had salons and took my product in, and it has done really well for them, and they're able to grow their salon, or they've told me like, oh, and we got Waxperts in, it's amazing, I got like these new clients, or it's helped me build my business and now I have 2 or 3 salons, or whatever the case may be. So you think of, what about that person? You know, you can't on the bad day just go, oh, or I'll just close the doors, because it's way bigger than that. Because then you go, okay, well, if it's, you know, whoever, Louise and, you know, Kerry, how does that, you know, that was part of her dream. A small part, you know, she had a salon, she wanted to do great things, she's doing that. she probably has a family and she probably has dreams and aspirations. So you have, I suppose, a responsibility that's way bigger than you. And you have to be comfortable then with taking that on as you grow a business as well.
Yeah, totally. It's like, it's just seeing the bigger picture. But every now and again, when you get another blow, you're just like, oh God, like, am I able for another one?
Yeah.
But then you just remember this, it passes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and there has to be perspective in it of like, okay, we're not, surgeons. It's not a life or death, but it's, do I have enough fight in me to have rest, regroup, go again? Or, sometimes, and I'm not saying that everybody should hang on forever and ever. Like sometimes you will have to look at the data and go, like, is my business worth saving, or am I, have I done what I can do with it? Is it time to exit, or is it time to look at it a different way? And I think that part of it is having time to take away and, like sleep on it in a sense and look at it in a fresh eyes or in a new light. And that's when maybe having a nice peer network or a mentor or something is so helpful.
Do you have a mentor now?
I sure do, yeah. Louise Phelan. We actually did a podcast to ask my mentor. Yeah, so I'd go back, and throw ideas and like that, in a casual way, but then sometimes more serious where, I'd get her in, as consultant in the business, to look at things and to really look at it seriously of what needs, to be done. Yeah, because I think your mentor, it's very much a trusted advisor, and obviously you're taking their opinion. Whether what you do with it then is up to you, but it's somebody that you very much do trust and that can be impartial and can try and guide you in the right way for your business. So they're looking at it separate to you as a person. It needs to be somebody who's looking at it as a business and what that needs.
Yeah, because like you're so invested personally. It's like, oh, but I want to do this.
Yeah, of course.
It's such a personal thing that you've grown. And the mentor will look at it as a total kind of outsider.
Yeah.
But the new brand.
Yeah, your skin stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me how that all came about. I saw your, it's one thing that I want to ask about. I saw like your launch party and your absolutely fabulous dress. I just loved that dress that you were wearing. So colorful, so my vibe.
It had all the colors.
I loved that. Tell me how that came about and what made you decide, okay, I'm going to go into now another product, but it's for tweens. Do we call them tweens?
Like, I don't think we would, but like that's not cool. Apparently cool isn't cool, so I've been told. So I'm learning all what's cool. It actually started in 2011.
Okay.
So I'm always saying this, the good ideas never leave you. I'm really passionate about that. The good ones will always stay in your head. They'll always be there somewhere. So in 2011, myself and my husband, we had come up with this idea because it was a problem, I guess that's the best way to describe it, that we were experiencing ourselves in our family. So one of my stepdaughters had very challenging skin and was going down a route of medication for it. But I was saying at home, I said, I know we could do this. I have a beauty background. I know, what products you could be using. And I think the biggest challenge was, first of all, there wasn't products that were suitable for her. And the fact that trying to get, that kind of age group to do something daily, like as a habit, is quite challenging. So there wasn't anything that was in place, that she could use, twice a day to clean her face, or a treatment if, you broke out, or a moisturizer to help with the dryness. There wasn't like a little step that could be in place every day. So I knew we could solve that problem. I was like, this makes sense to me. And probably because I'd seen that peer group in America who were getting products for their salon, and were using it. I was like, there's already people doing this. You can go to factories and you can work with them and you can tell them what you want in products. And it wasn't really being done here.
Yeah.
Same going back to Waxperts, like there wasn't anybody bringing out their own brand in stuff. It wasn't like way back then. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Like now I just feel like we're amazing for such a small country to have all these amazing makeup brands, tan brands, like such a strong like beauty entrepreneurship here in a tiny place. I think it's incredible. And I think now that will only grow because obviously people, there's very much a strength in if you can see it, you can be it. So any of the younger generation can see all these, brands doing amazing things and go, I want to do that. But back then I didn't see any, there wasn't that visibility.
Yeah.
But I knew from my network that was happening in other places. So it didn't seem impossible to me to do it. So that's what we started. So we contacted various like factories and tried to work with their cosmetic scientists in it and formulate a product range then. And we had samples and I was only showing the girls in the office last week the early drafts of what they would look like, and we had really gone down the road to press go on it. And then I suppose I had made a decision to kind of concentrate on growing Waxperts and move, not just be my own salon, but that we would supply other salons and spas. So we said, okay, well, we'll just put this on the back burner. But the back burner ended up being kind of the barbecue out in the garden you forget about. So it was like a few years ago then I came home one day to Con and I said, remember we were doing the skincare? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I think it's time. And he was like, oh my God, great. I've been waiting for this. So I just knew, sometimes you can have the best thing, but you're way too early. And that's happened to me loads and loads of times. We have a great idea or we have a great concept. We've brought it to market and we were way too early, whereas I really feel now we have the right product, we're in the right place, we're at the right time. And we had seen what we had kind of identified in the market, what we had proven, what we had, solved the problem of back in 2011. Like that actually, nothing had changed. So I was like, why? Because there's loads of baby products. You can go anywhere, high end, low end, mid end, and get lovely, beautiful baby products. And, we'll all spend on a beautiful cream for our baby if that's what they needed for their skin or their bath. And then it just drops. There's nothing. And then you get into teen skin. And normally in the teenage skin, it's more problem solving. So it's more about here's products because you have spots. Like here's products because your face is really dry. But I'm going, well, surely everybody in the world can see that there's a gap from us, adults bathing the kids, putting on their nice lotion or their lavender bath oil. Then there's nothing. And now you want us to fix spots. But what happened in between? But then I could see it. I saw it back then with my stepkids, but then I could see it with my own son. It's that slight change in their age, 7 to 8. They're a bit more independent. He wants to have a shower, not a bath. So you're not sitting there doing this little ritual. He's able to do his own hands, face and teeth. He doesn't need, you there helping him do the teeth. So that little step of independence, which is great, which is what we all want, it's healthy, drops off because there's no, quality surveying from parent. So like the teeth are hit and miss, showers hit and miss, so there's that little step that happens, but yet there isn't the products there to help support that and help the children create these healthy habits that will bring them into their teenage years. And it's routine. It's just a habit, like brushing your teeth. It's a mundane task that they're doing already, and that will continue as a healthy habit into their teens and adulthood. That it is a hygiene and it is, caring for their body and their skin. And it's really only in the last kind of 9 to 12 months we've seen this age group explode with using the wrong products. But it's because the want is there for them to use something. They want to be doing exactly what they're, the people they're looking up to, the teenagers, are doing.
Yeah.
But they just don't have the products to do it. And, that's a problem as well. We know that there's girls buying creams that are not suitable. Like, we all know that as adults, that's not good for their skin. But what's their alternative? What is there? So when we came back to revisit it, we were like, before it obviously all that had peaked up, we're working on this. We're like, oh my God, we have the perfect solution. So there was that bit of, we need to get it out. We need to tell people what we're doing and, show them. And our take on it was we wanted to bring the best of skincare ingredients. So we weren't dulling anything down and dumbing it down just because it's for kids. And here's something and it's packaged for you and it's cute. And then, obviously they're not buying it. It's whatever adult in their life is buying it or paying for it. But we wanted to bring the best of that and then formulate it that it would be suitable for their skin, but it would help their skin. So it helps support it. It would help strengthen their skin's barrier. And I think you'll find now when you talk to, women, especially in their like 20s and 30s, because they've used products that weren't great for their skin, as in they might have been way too harsh, using retinols really early on, using very active ingredients, their skin barrier does get damaged. So you end up then from your 30s, 40s trying to trying to fix that. It's like we're trying to scramble now in our 40s with the SPF because we're trying to fix sun damage that happened when we were,
oh my God,
5, 6, 7, 8 in the back garden, and there wasn't a bit of Nivea to be seen between the road, let alone like.
I lived in LA.
Course.
I put baby oil on.
That's what we did. That's what we did.
I was on sunbeds.
That was our generation.
My cousin told me recently she was on a sunbed, and I was like, is there something wrong with you?
I know, that was a different time. But it's now, like, we can see it, ourselves and our own friends and our own age group. We're trying to fix on our skin. We're trying to fix things that happened probably in childhood, when it comes to sun damage. And that's one thing. But it's the habit of, washing your face and just maintaining that and using products that will actually help. It's not that not that any child needs, some fancy skincare to do this, do that. No. But if they're using something and there's really amazing ingredients that can help their skin, why not? We ask, we all try to aspire to eat healthily, to eat different types of vegetables. Now we're all about our microbiome and we're trying to do all these, putting good things into our body. It's the same. Our skin's our biggest organ. It's the same thing. So it's trying to get the best of all of the ingredients and then bring what's needed most. And I see it with our, son Cooper. He's out on playing with his pals and he does have dryness from just out playing on the road. So, the serum that he's using that can help with that, like, it helps his skin.
Yeah.
It's just to help, and it's not to take away, anything from their skin or from their childhood or anything like that.
And what about, I love the branding. It's really like,
you've
got really nice colors for
it's
kids.
Really colourful.
Did you get a branding agency to help you with that, or are you creative yourself?
It's my husband, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry.
He's the branding agency.
Sorry, Yvonne.
Yeah. So
of course.
He's the branding agency. So he's the. Yeah, that's all him.
Yeah, I really like I loved the colors.
I love it. We wanted it to be colourful. We wanted, I suppose, because the challenge within the brand is you're trying to speak to a younger audience who are kind of 8 to 12, let's say, but obviously then decision maker or purchaser who's able to go online or hopefully go into store and buy it is, Mom, adult. Yeah.
Or dad. Yeah.
And exactly. So you're trying to speak to two different customers. So it has to be what the kids like, and also, what looks good as well.
Yeah, and actually I think that's a really good business point as well, because like, let's say my target market or your target market for Waxperts, like, you just know this is the kind of, whereas when you've got a product that's like, it's for the kids 8 to 12, but actually the purchaser is a parent, you almost have to be able to see it from both sides.
Yeah. For sure. And like that, it's that somebody who's coming in and, you know, they've been asked to buy it or they want to buy it, whatever the case may be, that they can see, well, what's in it and why is it in it? You know, the kids want to just like have a go and use the pipette and like have fun and experience it and enjoy it. But, you know, it's that. And that was really important to us. So, yeah, and it's funny how it worked out that nearly everyone involved has a child of that age. You know, so our cosmetic scientist who works with us, he has a 9-year-old daughter. So once we had our first samples, like he would have them first, obviously, from mixing and making them up, but he would take some home and then his daughter and all her friends, and then he'd give us that feedback and we'd have our samples and we'd, you know, mix around all the different, the feedback that we'd get. So we very much had like our own guinea pigs for trialing everything, which was like invaluable because children are so opinionated and they're not sitting on the fence of something that they may or may not like. It's like from the get-go that they like it or they don't like it, or you know what they like about it, and is quite specific and quite interesting. You know, there'd be some stuff we'd be like, oh, this would be great, and then they're like, no. We're like, oh, okay. It's humbling. No. But yeah, the branding, I think we're really happy with it. It's kind of reminiscent in a sense of, you know, the blocks that you'd have for your baby where you put the little blocks on and they had the alphabet around them. Yeah. So I was thinking, you know, the building blocks of the skin, building blocks of habit-based things. So that kind of works well. Not that the kids will know that, but, you know, it's reminiscent for us. We can see it in it. And there's a nostalgia bit, which I always think is a good anchor in branding when there's something a little bit you don't know why it feels nostalgic or why it feels very grounded to you. And I think that comes into play very much with the logo, where it's that kind of block based. But actually at one stage we were at home, we were working on it every evening for the last, 3 years. And just something was missing. You know, we had the logo, we were looking at the packaging and all our samples were all done, and we're just like, there's just something we just couldn't figure it out, just something missing. And my eldest stepdaughter, Holly, she's a graphic designer as well. So we FaceTimed and we said, will you just have a look at this? It's just, we can't figure it out. We just feel we're missing something. And we said, you know, the logo, we're that's not to be messed with, you know, we're happy with that, but there's something. And, you know, she rang us back an hour and she goes, okay, I've emailed you an idea I had and I've put it in. And it was, I should have brought something to show you, but basically in the background, there's like these blobs, as if the product has like blobbed out. And it just changed the whole look and feel of the product. So she just came up with this and had, you know, created it and drawn it and placed it in the background. And so if it's on a yellow base, the blob is a different kind of, it's a knocked back, like a much lighter yellow, but you can see that repeated then through it and, you know, on the website. And it just, we were like, oh, that's it. That's what we were waiting on. So it was great then that she was part of that as well.
Yeah, and I think get your branding right. A lot of people want to get out to the market quickly, and they're like, let's just get out. Because if you think about it, you're like, I want to be first to the market. Let's get out there. Let's get out. But people remember.
I think so. And I think, you know, for people who are starting up something or in the early stages, there can be a lot of conflicting opinions. You know, some people say, doesn't matter, just get something out. You know, if it's perfect, you've launched too late, which seems like a ridiculous thing to say. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, first of all. You know, done's better than perfect. But when it comes to your logo, branding, like it has such an impact. So you really want to try as best as you can that it is what you feel in your gut is really speaking your mission, your vision, your values, because those you come back to all the time, you know. And I think, you know, you can like read all the business books, but those three things, I think they're very much like a living, breathing thing in a business. Like we come back to them all the time in our office. You know, if somebody in Robin in social and marketing is looking to work with an influencer, you know, and we're looking at who it might be, I said, well, who matches our values? That's a real quick way to figure out if that person is right for us and if we're right for them. So it's constantly there. It should be part of your business in a daily way. So I think trying to get your logo right and that part, obviously you can change as the business evolves. You can change your packaging slightly, and we've done that in Waxperts. The packaging has changed as it's evolved, but the logo is, it's so known now in our world, and the waxing world's very niche, but it's very strong.
Yeah.
And that would never be, changeable, because it's so tied to what it is, and it has a feeling about it. It has an emotion about it. And I think that with your skin stuff as well. Like, there's lots of ways you can work around your art, or how the treatment of it is different, whether it's on social or it's on print. Like, that's all amendable. But I think trying to get that to be as strong as possible will help in the long run.
Yeah. And where are you going to start with it? Like, is it online now and available? Do you want to get into stores?
It's not online at the moment. So we are launching in July, and it'll be online, and then with a pop-up in Dundrum through the summer at some stage, date to be confirmed. So we want to try and do that, and then we want to hopefully partner with some retailers that we feel would fit the brand best as well. Because obviously I understand myself that, if you're buying something for your child, you want to have a look at it and check it out, scope it out, make sure you're happy with it, and you feel it's something that they could, that you'd be happy with them having. And obviously we're so new, it's not like you have any idea of what the product is or what it, looks like or anything like that. So we're excited for that.
You have to start somewhere.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I mean, people are very excited about it. We're getting lovely messages, and that's great.
Yeah, your launch party looked really cool.
So yeah, we had a launch to kind of beauty journalists and some key people in the industry, which was great to tell them kind of what we were all about. But everyone was invited, but they didn't know what they were invited for, which was great.
Cool.
So it was kind of like a surprise. So, our guests were turning up, and they were like, I think it's jewellery. And I was like, you think what's jewellery? And they're like, your new business. I was like, what? So everyone was guessing, and I was like, oh my God. So I said to Amy that does our PR, I was like, Amy, like, all these ideas, like, I could do anything. And she's like, but you can do anything. I was like, I know, but I didn't think it. And she's like, yeah. So people didn't know what to expect. So then when we unveiled it, they were very excited.
Yeah, I love that. Kind of like a little surprise.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And a guessing game. So now you could be going into 10 other businesses, and people would...
I know. I think we're just so relieved that we can talk about it, because obviously the idea started so long ago. We've been working on it so long. There's such a noise everywhere in beauty about, tweens using skincare. And we just felt like we were sitting on this. I was like, oh, my nerves are gone. We just have to tell the beauty press and just be done with it. I was like, I can't sit on this secret like any longer, you know. So it was time to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, it's different starting a business again, I guess, so many years later. But you have a lot of good real life learnings to kind of back you up on it.
Yeah.
And bring into it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, because you cannot learn from anything else but your failures. You just can't. You cannot learn from any of the successes in the same way that you learn from the stuff that goes wrong. And that can be down to the tiniest thing. Like you booked something and you paid over the odds because you didn't get your 3 quotes. And then those things become just a daily thing that you know what to do, and they're the learnings, and they're what help you the next bit. But it's all of what didn't work that helps you with what will work.
Yeah, and I actually agree. Like, it's totally true. Like, you're only going to learn from your failures, but also you're learning little. Like, I spoke at Wellfest in 23, right? And I didn't have anything of where my name was, or really, I had a stand.
Yeah.
But in 24, when I went back and I spoke, I had my QR code, I had my name, and that just built, people were able to contact. And I was like, why did I not do this simple thing? It's a small thing, but you learn.
Things. Yeah.
Like, people, my name is hard, like Yvonne Trakian, people don't know how to spell it.
Yeah.
But you learn these little things along along the way. And then I'm also learning from like the amount of failures, the things that I do all the time.
Yeah.
It's so true. But because we have a few minutes left, so I want to ask you.
Okay.
Manifestation. Tell
Yes.
me about what you believe, what you're into. Do you believe in the positive mindset, like all that sort of stuff? Or
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was always kind of doing that without knowing I was doing it. You know, back in my 20s and stuff, it was always, that was it before we had like The Secret and things like that. I did Reiki as well, so I'm a Reiki master. So I, I have an interest and that into like a holistic or a healing side of things. So it's very much part of my life and part of what I bring in a daily way.
Yeah.
Or try to have that as a practice. But I think it's hugely important, and it's not just how people want to define their manifesting, but having a positive attitude about things, or a positive outlook. And that's not to say in this kind of toxic positivity where everything is rainbows. It's not. But when things are challenging and when things are bad, and we'd in our own lives we'd 4 family bereavements in kind of the last year and a half, and those things come and really knock your world. And there's no way of putting a positive spin on bereavement. There isn't. That's not it. But it's, how can you, what is it bringing to you in any way? Is it helping you get more grounded? Is it helping you get closer? Is it helping you unlock a different level of love you might have? Like, there's something. I'm not saying that there's any positive to be found, and it mightn't be found in you. You mightn't find it for years and years and years and years. But it's knowing that you have something inside you that has a more positive outlook than negative, that will help you get through those days, that will help you want to get up the next day, that will help you try to think, okay, maybe next week will be easier than last week. And maybe, so there's that small optimism, that can start there. And then obviously you've, people who build it up to be manifesting and vision boarding and bringing all those great things to fruition in their dreams and stuff like that. But I think it's important to have a more positive outlook and a more optimistic one for your own mental, health and well-being. Like I said, not in a toxic way, but just to have a more glass half full way of going through the world.
Yeah.
Not rose tinted, but trying to go, even when things are not great, that there has to be some glimmer of something that's not that bad either.
Yeah.
Each day.
Yeah, I practice.
It's hard to find, but you can look at it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can just be, okay, nothing bad happened today.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you're grasping at the really,
learn another lesson today.
yeah. Or, okay, the resilience piece, that's, when, somebody had asked me that actually a couple of weeks ago, somebody I know, they said, well, what did such and such, what did that teach you? And I said, well, it taught me, it's very painful, but it taught me patience, it taught me resilience. There wasn't anything positive it taught me, but I had to see, well, what was the outcome that could be not that bad. Yeah. So sometimes it's trying to find that, that can be challenging in today's world, and that's why the small things that people talk about actually can help in being in that mind frame of being able to manifest, whether it's taking a minute to make your coffee the way you like it, or whether it's just taking a moment to look at what's happening in nature. Like, did you look out today? Are the leaves falling? Are the flowers blooming? What time of the year is it? Sometimes we're so busy, you forget that the seasons have changed, that nature has changed, that this world is doing its own thing in a way bigger sense than we are. And maybe that's the only thing you can glimpse at. But I'm all into the manifesting, and I've always been into it, and reading the different books, and I'd have my favourite ones.
What's your favourite? Do you have a favourite?
I really like Louise Hay. I think she's probably one of the original thought leaders on it, and I think a lot of people coming up today globally, like they're using her kind of sense of affirmations and practices and are inspired heavily by her. So it's reaching now another, like her kind of work or her belief system is reaching another generation. So I think, you know, she's definitely one. I have her on my Audible, her book, you know, that she read.
Yeah.
So I tend to listen to that very regularly out when I'm walking or whatever.
Yeah,
So
I love her. And you know who I love as well? She doesn't have written a book, it's different, but I'd say this every single time. Sarah Blakely, the Spanx.
God, I love Sarah Blakely.
The book,
Yeah.
her book, The Spanx
Yeah,
Story. Like,
so
I go back
great.
to that every now and again. I'm like,
Yeah.
if Sarah Blakely talks to the universe, then Yvonne Trackian can talk to the universe.
Of course,
like,
yeah. No, I think she's brilliant, because if you follow her on her Instagram or whatever, you know, you do get a glimpse into her as a woman, as a mother, as a business person, as somebody just like us, leading a completely chaotic life, obviously in a different level. But the reality of her is there and visible. And that goes back to what I say, like, if you can see it, you can be it. Like, there's something about what Sarah Blakely has done that you can really go, yeah, like, she really believed in what she was doing, and she wouldn't, you know, let go of that, in the sense of she knew she could do it and she wanted to do it.
And everyone told her, you're crazy.
Yeah, but there was
She
something
believed.
about her that she was just like, no, and I'm going to do it. And she, you know, had that tenacity to keep going and worked hard.
Yeah.
And you can see that in her story, where she talks like she's a hard worker.
Yeah.
Nothing came easy. It wasn't putting something out on a social media platform and the riches rolling in. You know, she was rocking up, going to the store. She's a great role model, I think, for anyone, you know, any female especially starting in a business, of how she's grown it and kept, I think, her own sense of personality and self, and seems to be an all-round person we'd all love to
meet.
Yeah, totally.
Well, she's got kids.
I know.
She's got kids that are kind of in that age bracket.
Board.
She's on your. Do you have a vision board, or do you write it down? What do you do?
So I write it down.
Yeah.
So I'm very much a pen and paper person. Yeah. So my husband for Christmas, I think, got me the Remarkable, which is like the digital notebook, if anybody else is a notebook person, because I would be carrying around about 49 notebooks at any one time.
Yeah.
So this is like all your notebooks in one. So I'm obsessed with that. And then I do my vision boards on Pinterest, and I save it to my screen.
Well, writing it down is really great.
Yeah.
And vision. Because when you write it down, you fire up your brain.
Exactly,
There's so much
and
science
it's
to
amazing. And when you write down, and writing down all the tiny things as well, because when you reflect back, like every quarter, every, you know, as you go along the year, you can tick off things and you can feel really good about, like, oh, that happened, and that was once a dream, and now, you know, whether it's, let's say, an office space, that was a dream that I was going to move office or have an office or have a desk, and now there you did it. So it really spurs you on. It gives you that confidence, I think, for doing it. And then I try like that not to scroll on social media, like if I'm dropping off to sleep at night. But the last app that I'll have is my vision board on my Pinterest, and that's what I'll scroll through. And once I get the end of that, I know now it's time to sleep, and let that be the last thing I see.
Yeah, I talked to neuroscientists about that before you go to bed, and how our brains are such sponges, and we should really I visualize before I go to bed. So I visualize so similar to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then when I wake up in the morning, I do my gratitude, I do affirmations, I visualize again, but it's all that right before you go to bed and you wake up. We are totally aligned.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
so much for coming on. And I cannot wait to see where everything goes for you. So exciting.
I know, it is exciting.
I'd
the
love
unknown,
to have a peek
I think,
at that Pinterest vision board.
Yeah, the unknown is exciting.
Yeah, we should be more open to the unknown and uncertainty, shouldn't we?
Yeah, oh my God, for sure. That's where all the magic is.
Yeah, like let it go. I always say, like, when I let go, my life will flow. Because sometimes you're holding on to it just too tight, you know? Yeah. Especially, I think, when people are trying to manifest, they're like, I just want it, I want it, I want it. But you need to know it's going to happen, but you don't ask how. You just let it go, you take your action, and then keep going.
You don't want to be the salmon going against all the time. Just go with it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I loved having you here.